Our easiest path to ending food insecurity is through food waste diversion. Not believable? Let's talk about it. Most people think it really cannot be done. Most people think we have to buy food. Over 40% of the food we produce in the United States, shockingly, just goes to waste, right? That's about 60 million tons of food waste every single year, while about 47 million Americans struggle with food insecurity and hunger nationwide. Think about it, that's about 130 billion meals can be served just from the food that we're discarding every single day. That's who I am. So my name is Christopher Dipnine. I started an organization in Baltimore called For My City. In 2018, I was involved in a tragic accident. Unfortunately, a homeless gentleman got killed in front of me, hit and run. I was the only one that stopped, rendered assistance. That moment in my life kind of took me back to the roots of me growing up when I was food insecure, when I was looking for food for myself, growing up very poor in the small island of Trinidad and Tobago. I wanted to start something that could create change. I wanted to start an organization that once I launched it, I know would change a broken system, which is addressing food waste, addressing food insecurity, and ending the cycle of hunger nationwide. With that, I decided to create a plan. My plan, 4-phase sustainability plan, hence the name, For My City. Obviously, got to tie that in there. First phase we worked on would be source reduction, right? Understanding food waste, stopping food waste from the start, working with producers, working with farmers, working with anybody in the food realm, companies like Amazon, companies like Cisco, all your major food resources we have partnerships with. We wanted to make sure that we can educate them about donating instead of trashing, right? Phase 2 is feed the hungry. Well, what do we do with all this food we rescue? We want to divert it to as much families as we can. To date, since we launched in October of 2018, For My City has diverted over 260 million pounds of food to families that are facing food insecurity. During the peak of COVID, we did food distributions in 20 states across the US, including countries like Puerto Rico and as far down as Honduras. So we know, and this is all through food that could have been trashed, we did not buy a pound of food in that 260 million pounds of food diverted to families facing food insecurity. Phase 3 is industrial and commercial use. What else can we do with food waste? We utilize food waste into making biodegradable products. If you can make it in plastic, we can literally make it in biodegradable form. So no more of those paper straws, no more of that kind of stuff, no more of your plastic cups, your plastic bags, everything that can be literally made in plastic form. We're developing technology at For My City that converts that, utilizing food waste to make it into a biodegradable form. Which leads us into our last phase, which is composting. I'm proud to say For My City, with our partners in India, have successfully managed to develop technology that turns food waste, including our biodegradable products, into usable soil within a 24-hour cycle. Basically, you put all your food waste in, put it in our machine, and within 24 hours, that food waste turns into usable soil. When you look at the cycle that we've created there, if you connect the arrows, we've literally ended the cycle of food waste, right? For those of you who don't know, food waste in our landfills create methane gas. Methane gas is 20 times more potent than carbon dioxide. So by diverting food waste, we're not only ending hunger, we're ending the harmful effects food waste has in our landfills, right? About 65 to 70% of the trash in landfills is literally food waste, right? The rest of it is all stuff that can be composted. So again, utilizing our technology, we can literally end the harmful effects that food waste and trash has on our environment. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about sustainability. Why is sustainability important? I always try in my talks to explain the difference between environmental sustainability and climate change. It's a very hot topic. We all know about it, right? When you hear climate change, people start shutting down immediately. That's why we talk about environmental sustainability. There's a big difference. Climate change is the end all, right? That's the effect. Whatever happens when we don't live sustainable lives, that's what's going to happen, right? The planet's going to blow up, or it's going to be on fire, whatever the case may be that people say. Environmental sustainability, on the other hand, is inclusive, meaning that we talk about stuff that we can do today, the way we can bring people together so that we can make sure that we don't get to that end point, right? So there's a big difference between environmental sustainability. When we talk about environmental sustainability, it needs not be decisive, right? We need divisive. What we need to do is bring everybody to the table. So in order to do that, in order to create my 4-phase sustainability plan, in order to make sure everybody could come to the table, obviously I had to develop another plan, right? That's my 4 pillars of sustainability. So our 4 pillars of sustainability is really how do we bridge or bring everyone into the space in a good way, right? Positive way. First phase, obviously, is social harmony, talking, right? Being able to speak to people, get people to understand what environmental sustainability is, and getting people to buy into what we're doing, right? This was one of our biggest challenges when I launched this organization because people were like, hey, if you're going to donate food, we don't want to do that. That's too much work, blah, blah, blah. What if the food is bad? Someone can sue me. So again, being able to talk to people, get them to buy into what we're doing, and get them to change their mind about sustainability as a whole and participating in our program, right? Once we have social harmony and we get that buy-in, then now we can talk about environmental stewardship, right? Now is how we talk about the change. So what are we doing to create the change that we need to see within the environmental sustainability realm? Obviously, like for my city, what you're looking at there is our indoor composter that turns about 6,000 pounds of food waste into usable soil within 24 hours. It's the largest composter in the United States. So again, creating technology that can bridge the gap and make sure that we're addressing the sustainable change that we're trying to tell people about, right? Economic prosperity is very important when we're talking about sustainability, that we get every single demographic involved, right? And this is something that is very near and dear to my heart because when people talk about environmental sustainability and pushing sustainability practices, we leave a demographic completely out, which is typically your low income or your families that are struggling to actually get into this space, right? Sustainability for most people is very expensive. Eating healthy is expensive. Driving an electric car is expensive. So all these different things, when you're talking about sustainability, we have to make sure that we're covering it on a level playing field and not creating segregation in the space, right? In order for us to do that, we have to have diplomatic cooperation, right? Which is bringing every single person to the table. There cannot be good guys, there cannot be bad guys. The oil industry is not bad, the gas cars are not bad. We have to bring every single person to the table when we're talking about diplomatic cooperation, right? We have to stop segregation and saying, this group is bad, that group is bad. Every single person has to come to the table. One of our largest partners actually, is one or is flagged as one of the largest sustainability hubs in Baltimore, which is Wind Waste Innovations. People see them at a big smokestack. It's a waste energy facility. They're saying it's bad for the environment. When in reality, waste energy facilities are very good for our environment. Why? Because they turn our waste into usable resource instead of it sitting in the landfills, right? So again, people understanding the spaces and how organizations that may look bad for the environment, organizations like us at For My City who are trying to divert that waste, can actually work together. They don't want to burn all their waste. They would love to compost. They would love to divert food to families that are facing food insecurity. But if we cannot or we don't have those facilities in place, then we need to do something with the waste structure. So again, understanding that we all have to work together in this space in order for us to succeed, right? At the heart of the work of For My City is our For My City mentees. We have a For My City youth program, which is for youths that are aged 16 to 23. We don't have a CEO, or I'm proud to say that. All our team is volunteers. All our team is paid youths from the community, aged 16 to 23, that do all our work. So when you look at the 260 million pounds of food we've diverted, this is all done through our For My City youth program. So our youths are the ones that are driving the change within our community. So that's very important when we think about sustainability change. We want to make sure that the kids in our community have a voice in the programs that we're developing in order to create a change in the community for the future. Because technically, they are the future, all right? Challenges and triumphs. Look, this is not easy. The hardest thing for me to learn as a nonprofit leader, I came from the world of business. Business was my thing, right? You put out a product, you sell that product, you get your money, and you go sit and you relax. The nonprofit world is completely different. You know, the hardest lesson for me to learn in this space was letting go. You know, what people don't realize when you create a program like this, you take everybody else's problems and you make it yours. And that was a big challenge for me when I got into the space because I couldn't disconnect from the work. You know, my personal life struggled, my family life struggled, because every day I would look at emails, I would see messages on my phone, hey, I don't have food, hey, I don't have this, and I would react immediately to those messages. And that was, again, a big struggle, and that's what people don't realize as a nonprofit leader is you take whatever problem you're trying to solve, you're taking every single one of those families now that are depending on your program and putting those problems on your shoulders. We have 11,000 families in our program right now. I probably can name about 90% of the families by name that come through our facility. That's sad, but it's also a good thing, right? Because it means I'm connected to my community. But again, it just goes to show, you know, that it is, as a nonprofit leader, the biggest struggle that we face is disconnecting from the work that we're doing to the problems that's within the community. Looking forward, imagine a community where waste is turned into something beneficial, and that's all we're asking, right? When you look at your refrigerator, about 60% of the food that you waste or that you purchase actually goes to waste, right? People think it's just corporate waste, but residential waste is our biggest waste stream, right? We waste about 60% of the food you buy. So all that stuff you go in and you fill your refrigerator with, 60% of that you typically waste. Either you waste by not even using it, or you waste by you just eat half and half of it goes to waste, right? So people think it's just the corporate structure that's generating waste. Our biggest waste stream starts with us in this room. About 60% of the food that households purchase is actually wasted, right? Which is our largest waste segment. Think about, again, your waste stream that is going into your trash. About 75% to 85% of the waste that goes into trash, all your cardboard from Amazon, all your paper products, all the plastic products that you can probably use as compostable. All these items are compostable. So, you know, find your local compost program, develop your local compost program, or again, join organizations that's doing this type of work in the community to help divert your waste. We'll go back to what I talked about with diplomatic cooperation. In order for us to create change, there cannot be good or bad guys. I always joke with people, right? Like if you come to my facility, I'm huge on environmental sustainability, but I love cars, right? So my fiance is here, and I have a lot of cars, and they're all V8s, and I love cars, right? So I always tell people, in order for me to drive my cars, I have to offset my carbon footprint somewhere else. So I rescue millions of pounds of food so I can drive my V8 cars, right? So that's what diplomatic sustainability is, right? Is we're not telling you not to drive your gas car. We're not telling you not to go out and spend your money on your boats or your luxury goods. But we're saying if you're going to do that, let's look at a way where you can offset that carbon footprint, right? And again, that's me. I rescued 260 million pounds of food so I can enjoy my gas cars, right? And that's what we're asking families to do. And that's when we talk about, imagine a world where we all can live together, where we all can join in on creating a sustainable environment without the divisive nature in the space, right? And that's the challenge when people talk about climate change. We've talked about climate change here today, but nothing divisive was said, right? We all have to be able to work together in a space, communicate effectively, have social harmony, which is have fun doing it. We have a lot of fun rescuing food every single day. We have a lot of fun distributing the food every single day. I'm proud to say our pantry is one of the only pantries in the United States that's a walk-up pantry from Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Families can just walk in and pick up food resources. You can just walk in, like if you're shopping at a local grocery store, walk down our line and pick up food resources. Families can come in every single day of the week, Monday through Friday, right? They can come one time a day, but they can come in every single day of the week and pick up food resources. We're a resource hub. We have on-site mentoring programs. Volunteers can just walk in, hang out, and just enjoy what we're doing here when it comes to sustainability. And guess what? We're effectively creating the change that can lead to zero waste to zero hunger. Thank you.